it's okay to be spiritual. You don't need to be religious, put crystals under the moon, or meditate for hours. You just need to be open to the possibility there's something bigger than you.
Then it's shown to you in a song, a feeling, a sign. That's when life becomes magical. And then you discover that it really is okay to be spiritual.
This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Views expressed are those of the hosts and guests' personal experiences. The information provided is not a substitute for professional advice, whether medical, legal, or otherwise.
Welcome back to another episode of It's Okay to Be Spiritual. I'm Helen.
And I'm Lori.
And today we have
Melanie O'Shea, Holistic Healing. Mel is a practitioner in Toowoomba. And how would you describe your healing space and what you do in it, Mel?
So I have a holistic healing clinic where I do intuitive medicine, holistic health coaching, health assessments, and oracle cards.
So we're going to get into a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
What it was for you and physical symptoms, emotional, mental, all that stuff. So you ready to do that now?
Yeah. So I met a friend in Melbourne for just a girls' weekend. I got off the plane in Melbourne and I could feel a bit of a head cold coming on. Anyway, I was okay. I wasn't ill, so we had a great weekend and we were going out and we had lunch and we went to theatre and we shopped and did the beautiful Melbourne stuff, just wandering around. It was wonderful. And then we were in a little shop in this arcade. We were ready to fly out in a couple of hours sort of thing. So it was just sort of pop in here while we're waiting to go to the airport. And all of a sudden the whole room, the whole place literally did a 360 turn on me. And I went, oh. And my friend actually said to me, are you okay? Your eyes just spun in your head. Oh, wow. And I was like, I don't know. And I thought I was like, my head cold's got on my sinuses.
Yeah.
A bit of vertigo now. It wasn't terribly unusual for me to have sinus kind of issues with a head cold. And I thought, oh. Anyway, basically I was pretty well crawling like to the plane. Like it just kept happening then. Anyway, this kind of hung around for ages. Like the head cold kind of cleared up, but this vertigo just kept happening. Random, like I would be brushing my teeth and the basin would spin. And I was seeing my GP that I was working with, and he was doing vitamin C and B vitamin infusions every week, and nothing would seem to be clearing this vertigo up. It just kept happening. And we were doing all the blood tests and we ruled everything out that we could possibly rule out. I think he was even talking about a MRI on my brain at one point. And then it kind of progressed into, there's no other word from it except a complete disconnect from my body. Complete disconnect from reality. In terms I had no idea it was even real anymore. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever experienced. So, for example, I would be driving in my car and I would know the speed limit was 80 Ks and I would look at my speedo and it would be on 80 Ks. But I would see cars zooming past me like cartoons zooming past me, like leaving like dust behind them kind of zooming. And I think, what is happening? Am I driving super slow? I had no idea what I was seeing was real or were they real? Was my speedo like playing up? I had no idea. It was the most uncomfortable, disconcerting feeling.
I was just going to use that word, disconcerting.
It was awful. Thought I was going mad. Absolutely thought my brain was just like had a tumor or something, because I was nursey brain. I was like, something seriously wrong with my brain. Yeah, and then I would be lying on my bed at night, so I lost all awareness of where I was at night. As soon as the lights went out, I would know logically, I know I went to my bed. I know I'm still lying on my bed. I haven't moved. But I would feel like I was just floating in the blackness. I had no idea. And I knew my ensuite was on the left side of my bed, but I would get up in the night and I would have to crawl because I was terrified of a wall appearing out of nowhere or something. I don't know. It just made no sense. Logically, my brain was still saying, you know exactly where you are. You know where your ensuite is. You know you're going the right way. But I couldn't trust anything my brain was telling me. Eventually, I went to a physio who specialised in vestibular migraines, and he diagnosed me with that, and he did some head movements and things, and eventually it just kind of cleared up. But from then, I guess everything just changed.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah, like in a nutshell, everything just sort of, and I think I was just saying before, like I don't even think even 6 to 12 months ago, I perhaps realised that, yes, it might have had symptoms of vestibular migraines, perhaps, sure. But I actually realised now that was just the whole blammy. Like, wake up.
That's a hell of a way to say, hey, the world's not what you think it is. Maybe you could take a different look.
Yes.
That's
so true.
That's a big experience.
But it's really interesting you mentioned that actually, Helen, because I didn't actually start the whole questioning of things like government and how things are done and how I live my life. I still didn't actually even question that until probably the COVID sort of time. So that would have been, 18 months to maybe even 3 years later.
Yeah,
I was at that point.
But things
Which is bizarre now when I think about it.
But that's how it's meant to work, right? Because you can only handle so much information at one point. So
well, that makes sense.
Obviously shifted your perception and your awareness within your body and like bigger surrounds, and then that needs to like integrate and then the next level. So was there anything after like your awakening that really came to you? Like, did you feel things in your body differently? Could you, like when people entered a room, was there a different presence? Like, do you think there's anything that you can pinpoint that shifted, or is it just so big that it's hard to pinpoint?
I do remember, I think it was probably in that period, not long after the vertigo and awakening. I do remember having a thought then, and one day suddenly I remembered walking home from school, there would be an imaginary friend. Little girl would walk with me when I was walking home alone, and she was an African girl, and I was doing a meditation one night and she appeared, I think it was like a connect with your spirit guide meditation. I was like, oh, I have to just connect with my spirit guides now, see what that's all about. And she appeared, but as like an adult woman now. And I was like, what? I remember you. Oh my God. And she showed me like that she used to walk beside me. I was like, oh my God, I completely forgot about you.
Wow.
She's like, I've been here the whole time.
Don't worry, I'm not offended.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
She's like, I've been here the whole time.
Yeah, and she was like, I don't even know how this works still. I never figured it out. I never really thought much about it. But she's currently living herself somewhere else in the world on this timeline.
Yeah.
But is my spirit guide. And I was like, okay, what is time anyway? But anyway.
Yeah, that's
a whole other podcast.
That is a whole other podcast.
I completely agree. That's very mind-bending.
Yes.
And so the reason
that's the whole point though, right?
To bend your mind, this podcast.
Yeah.
No, like an awakening.
Yes. Well, yeah, I agree to bend your mind.
We can only cover so much in one podcast.
So true. So true.
We can. And the reason I got Mel on is because we first caught up the first time you and I had caught up for coffee, and we spoke about our awakenings.
Yeah.
And we have something similar. So my awakening was it was after the birth of my last daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And something happened in that birth, and even the midwife said at the time, I don't know what happened before she came out, but there was definitely something bigger in this room going on. I didn't know about anything spiritual. I didn't know. I was a normal person at this point.
Yeah.
But after that, I started getting these in my vision. I would get little flickers, and I didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
And I would get headaches as well with them, and they would knock me out for periods of time, and I would just have to go into a dark room and put something over my eyes. And I was diagnosed with ocular migraines. Mm-hmm. And so I would get these ocular migraines. They would come out of nowhere. I went to the optometrist, got him to look through my eye, do all the testing, couldn't find anything. I then went to my naturopath and spent $1 bazillion on supplements to try like magnesium, hormone detoxing things to try and work out why these ocular migraines were coming on. I thought they were hormonal, so I was charting them with my cycle, trying to piece it all together. And then maybe a year and a half after they were just coming and going, they wouldn't go away, they didn't stop, my right eye started twitching, and it would just constantly twitch, and there was no explanation for it. I couldn't work out what was going on, and then I realised that was my symptoms of my awakening. So I had a very like heady shift as well. And so from that, I saw things differently, and then at some point I had like a trigger, and then the energy started flowing through my body, and I could feel energy, I could sense things, I would think things and they would happen. I would drive home, and one of the things that happened when I first started, I went back through my journal to find all these good bits. We went to the Gold Coast, and I didn't know what was going on either. You know, like all this stuff was happening. My eyes had gone funny, and then I was twitching. And then I would play this game, and my husband was driving, and I would try and guess who was driving the car in front of us. And so as we overtook, I'd just sit here, the eyes twitching, and then I'm going, show me the face of the person in that car. I don't know why I was doing this.
What a game.
Yeah. It's a good game, right? If you're starting out to be a psychic.
Only if you're the passenger.
Yeah, passenger. Passenger only. Don't do this driving. But I would sit there and I would be like, I don't know what's going on, but I reckon I can see the person in this car. And I would go, close my eyes, it's twitching, and I'm like, show me the face of the person in the car. And I'd get like a man with glasses, like black sunnies. And sure enough, my husband would drive past it, and there he was with sunnies on his face, exactly as I saw it in my head. And so that was how I started to play with it. And so when the eye was twitching, I realized it was them working through me.
Yeah.
So all these things that happen. So like I still don't know, you know, we don't know why it happens, what the reasons were behind it. But I think it was just an energetic shift within my head space and the energy in my head. And all these migraines were just pieces of that density being like cleared and like coming up to be cleared. I don't really know. That makes sense, right? It
I
kind of adds up.
That you look to me to what's the conclusion here? Okay, well,
bring it all home for us.
Well, we do have to have a shift out of the physical body. You know, when we are in the ego thought system or the way we're brought up to believe, you know, we believe that this is all we are.
Yes.
This is us.
Yeah.
Whereas from a spiritual context, we're like, hang on a minute, we're so much more than the body. We're an eternal being. We're an infinite eternal being. And so suddenly our whole perception shifts. So I think, you know, whether it's another whole podcast episode, isn't it, about how these questions or how we start questioning or what it is that triggers us to take a broader look. But if it's a physical experience like you two have had, then, you know, it's made you look, hasn't it? It's made you go, hang on a minute, there's more going on here.
Yeah. I do actually wonder now if the symptoms can be so debilitating because you just really need to stop and slow down and rest for it to happen.
But you have to stop, don't you, to be able to bring in new thoughts.
To integrate it,
To be able to clear the mind enough to allow something new to come in.
Yeah.
Because spirit can talk to us in so many different ways. We can see things. Like Laurie's really visual. I'm more, I feel things more, or thoughts pop into my head. You know, I call them thoughts I didn't think.
Yeah. I like that.
Some people smell things. Some people taste things. Some people feel it in their body. Yeah. And we're all different. Yeah. So there's no right way or wrong way is one of the points I'm trying to make here. But like you said, we have to slow down for that new information to be able to even get in.
Yes.
Otherwise, we're thinking I have to get the kids to school, I have to make school lunches, I have to get to work, I have to wash the clothes, I have to get iron my clothes for tomorrow, I have to make sure the car has tyres on at the work, Like, you know, like there's a million thoughts, isn't there? Have I paid the insurance? Did I lock the door? Did I lock my car? Did I even drink any water today?
And I think humans are quite resistant to change. We do not like it. And that's where the ego is, that total space of like, no, this is life and it's quite fine the way it is and I did everything right and I'm all good. So shut the hell up, vertigo. I'm moving on with my life. The more you fight it, I think the more brutal it has to be before you're like, all right, I'm stopping.
Yeah.
I cannot fight anymore. I've just got to let it go.
Well said. And the ego is the thing that keeps us alive when we're disconnected from spirit. So there's all this self-help or spiritual type thing about remove the ego, like get rid of the ego's bad. The ego's not that bad. The ego kept us alive when we had disconnected ourselves from spirit. So, of course, it's going to rely on everything that it knows because that's all it's got. The ego only has the lived experience, whereas the spiritual experience has multiple lifetimes of experience and eternity of experience and oneness of experience. Like, that's a much broader wealth of wisdom and knowledge than the ego can ever access.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's limitless.
So one other thing I want to mention, because I feel this symptom is probably one of the first universal ones people get, is the ringing in the ears. Have you had the ear ringing?
I don't really remember it being a significant issue.
Yeah, right. Do you ring? Do you ear ring? Do you ear ring? Do your ears ring?
Occasionally, yeah. And you're right, it is a very common symptom.
Yeah, so ear ringing is a very, like, it is common. You don't have to have it, but you do. It came in for me as well at the start, and so my right ear would ring, and people call it tinnitus as well, but you could go get it medically tested. So this is like massive disclaimer on this. Like, you could have tinnitus, you could have hearing damage, you could go to too many concerts, I don't know. But if you've ruled out all those potential possibilities, it can be when your ear chakras start to clear. So one of my strongest clairs is like my clairaudience. So as part of that, you have to shift the energy and the density from the receiving point for that to open up. And so your ears will ring, and my right ear still rings now when the spirits work through me or come to me, or I'm getting messages. In healings, they'll be in there, and it's very common. So when you hear it, you'll find heaps of memes and TikToks about this. But when it comes in, you generally can just start to pause and try and tune into the frequency. And then if you feel something or get a thought or you like an intuitive hit, that is part of like how you're receiving. Or it could just be clearing out the densities and it's going to unfold at a later date. Like this stuff doesn't happen once and then you've got clairaudience. Like it's a continual working, it's a continual recalibrating your body. It's, you had migraines for a long time. I had the ocular ones for probably 2 years at least before they went away, and then I got my like seeing visually, like my clairvoyance, I guess it would be. So if you're getting ear ringing, if you're getting eye things, I also used to get my knees, like my knee chakras would start to, I get really bad knees for no reason.
Oh.
To slow me down.
Oh, you would have needed slowing down too. Far out.
So I had my knee chakras would go and I would just couldn't move. Like literally they were like, stop, like we need to slow it down. So I would have knee problems, completely couldn't be explained by anything.
And I still will have, I don't know if you do, but I still have moments now, and it might be a week, it might be a day, where I am just absolutely, doesn't matter what I'm eating, doesn't matter what I'm taking supplement-wise, doesn't matter how good my sleep is, how much yoga I'm doing, how much I'm meditating. I either will not sleep, I'll run on 2-3 hours of sleep a night, or I cannot get enough sleep.
I definitely go through periods of like not sleeping at all, get 2 or 3 hours, and I just call it like spiritual insomnia. Yes. Because it's not like normal person insomnia, because you're so wide and that my ears ring and my body is like vibrating and it's beyond me, like I couldn't sleep even if I wanted to. So I get spiritual insomnia and I just don't resist it. I'll just put on a podcast or music that brings me joy and then just raise my vibration and just ride it. Yeah. Because I'm like, if I'm like very highly vibrational right now with codes or whatever's going on, I may as well enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then I wake up the next day, for like the 2 hours I get, normally knocks off about 3 or 4 a.m. and then I get an hour or two before I get up. But I'm fine the next day. If that was a like person in normal person insomnia, you would be so tired the next day. You would not be able to function. But I am like high as a kite, loving life, and then it will slow, and then I'll have a really long deep sleep the next night or two. It'll happen for a certain period, and sometimes it's linked to the moon, sometimes it's just personal growth phases. I can't pick it, but I think that's another good one to point out. So there are physical symptoms of an awakening.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think what you said was very important, though, in terms of the disclaimer. Absolutely getting checked out should be priority. The first step is getting it medically checked out, get the scans, get the blood test, et cetera, et cetera. With my intuitive medicine, that's what people will generally come to me after that. I've had all the tests, I've seen all the doctors, I've seen the naturopath, I've had the chiropractor. Nothing seems to be helping. Nothing seems to be shifting this. And then that's because it's a spiritual, emotional, mental type stuff going on. Physically, you look great, but again, you need to get checked out properly. Not my job. But yeah, very much it can be that the physical manifestation of a very spiritual or very emotional issue. Or
isn't every health issue
a
physical manifestation of a energetic, emotional?
Yes. Do you know how much that irritated me when I started doing my work, intuitive medicine? So I thought, because I went nursing, I sort of did health coaching for a little bit, so I thought then I can help people in my own way. I'm very passionate about health. It's always been my passion. It's my thing. I thought I could still do that, but do it more in my own way, a bit more freedom, a bit more autonomy. And then, the gifts and the awakening kind of just kept doing their thing to the point where I think there's more to what I do. This must be for a reason. Found intuitive medicine, I think, on a Google search one day. I went, ding, 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 ding. That's it. That's what I do. But I thought this is so cool. And we use like the anatomy, physiology stuff that I learned in nursing that I love. I absolutely adore the fact that you can learn about, the heart and why low magnesium, for example, causes heart problems. Like, to know that knowledge, I just love that stuff. And I thought, awesome, like I'm going to get in people's bodies and like figure out what's going on with their hearts and their lungs and, even down to their hormones and their blood cells, blah, 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 blah. 90% of it is emotional, spiritual stuff. That 90% of even my consults is talking, almost like counseling with people. Not that I'm a counselor, but almost people just talking about their story and just kind of voicing it and having someone say, yeah, I can absolutely see that. I can feel that. Or me saying, I can see this like with your heart chakra that you give unconditional love quite easily, but you're not very good at taking it. And half an hour later, we're realizing this is why you have stomach cramps and because of your heart chakra. So it frustrates me so much because my nurse brain is like, just give me the guts and glory kind of stuff. But again, it's that fight, that ego.
It's the difference between the physical and the non-physical.
Yeah, and for me, fighting that, I'm like science girl. I love science. Science was always my jam. I did well at school. I studied hard, and
that's why you two are friends.
Yes. We like facts, figures, numbers, right? It makes sense when it's concrete and there's evidence, which is why the spiritual stuff is really hard when you come from this type of background and go into it, and maybe why we need the physical symptoms to stop and for someone to wake us up because we were so fixed on, like needing that other context and like grasping it. Yeah, that sometimes the spiritual stuff, you don't get that.
Yeah. And I think I've grieved a lot my old self, my old life.
Yeah. That's normal too.
Yeah. And see, I never realized that.
This morning making this a whole podcast episode. But that is normal. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah. You're welcome. Still segue for you. Didn't even plan that. That's so cool. Or didn't I? No. It all just flows through me. No. But I never I remember growing up and reading stories about the psychics and thinking, I wish I could do that. That's so cool. I should be that. I wish I could just turn that on. And then when it all sort of happened, all I wanted was I just want to be me again. Like I just want to go back. It was so much easier and like things just made sense.
Control.
Yeah,
felt like I had more control.
The control thing. That was really hard to feel like I've given up, but at the same time, really, I didn't have any control ever.
Yeah,
it was all such an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
This illusion of control.
Well said.
Which again makes me sad because I want to go back to where I think I had control. Though I missed that. Or even just being with family. My family is not where I'm at. They're still very much 3D, for lack of better description. Beautiful people, and And I have had moments where I thought, I just want to be back to Mel, who could, just sit around and drink rum and talk footy and, enjoy going to footy. I cannot even watch it now. It's so bizarre. I can't watch it. It just doesn't sit with me anymore. But again, coming to a realization that I can be around my family and perhaps be a slightly different version of myself and still connect and still relate and still enjoy them and still have them as part of my life and be grateful for that. And I've decided that I really miss parts of my nursing. I really do miss. I miss like wound care. I love wounds. I love the grotty, gross, stinky stuff.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I know. I miss the that physical. This is what we do for a wound that looks like blah 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 blah. This is what we do.
Thanks for sparing us of that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I'm not good with blood and gore either, but I get that people are, right? So I think there's something in that as well.
Yeah, I think and this is like super recent for me, like super recent. It feels a bit silly that it took me so long actually, but super recent for me, to that realization I can absolutely be all of it. I don't have to be all of it. I can just be spiritual. I've never seen myself as spiritual. I'm not going to be someone who's vegan sitting on a mountaintop for hours, in perfect silence,
Why
controlling
does everyone
their
think
thoughts.
a spiritual guru is vegan?
Well, because we're led to believe that meat's lower vibration. So to reach a spiritual epitome, you have to be vegan.
Oh, is that what? Right.
That's why. That's where it comes from, right?
Yes, it's just that. Well, it's a stereotype.
And
like
it's
anything.
meant to be kinder to the planet and all that.
Yeah, like your vibration is, like purely just plant matter and
But it's the other interesting thing though is that we also associate like spiritual awakening with sitting on a mountain all alone, and I think in decades or centuries gone by, we did need to do that because the overall vibration of the planet was much lower, and it required that dedicated concentration and aloneness without any extra or to be able to remove yourself from sensory stimulation, hence the dark cave or the on top of the mountain all by yourself kind of thing. Whereas now the whole planet has risen up. The vibration of our everyday life is completely different to a decade ago, to a century ago, to 1,000 years ago, to 2,000 years ago. So we're talking about like we've still got these really old stereotypes, for maybe want of a better word, are coming into our spiritual conversations that aren't relevant anymore.
I do think you still see almost exclusion, though, in the spiritual community. I do think that, and I do often wonder now if that's almost, they've kind of gone too far the other way, that the ego is getting involved in a whole different way.
Could be.
And that we're just calling it, that's a very spiritual person because, they've cut off ties with the people who aren't on the same vibration. If anyone expresses a negative thought or feeling around them, you're cut because I'm only positive around me now. That's what it means.
You've pegged that perfectly.
You know what I mean? And I actually think what's happened, and like you said, with the energy of the planet, is that now what is needed more than that isolation of spirituality or spiritual gifts or spiritually awakened. Yes, and that we can do more work, we can help more, not preaching to the choir, not preaching to the awakened, not just reaching out and only connecting, but it being more of a muggle type energy in a way where you can relate to people who are not there but can still benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the conversation of how do we participate with our families? How do we sit around and drink a beer and watch footy? Well, we don't actually have to physically do those things if we're not comfortable drinking beer and watching footy anymore. But we can see in every single person we come across, whether it's our family or whether we're walking through a shopping centre or whatever, that everyone wants to be loved. Deep in our hearts, we all yearn for love. And what's love? It's that spiritual energy. So if we can see that in another, then we can connect with them in a authentic kind of a way, even if we don't participate in the beer drinking and footy watching.
Absolutely. And isn't that more spiritual
Yeah.
than isolating ourselves? And I'm so spiritual now. I'm so beyond you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm so
agree.
glad you raised this, because we were having a conversation about, you know, when you step into it, what does it mean now I am spiritual? And I think, like, you've hit the nail on the head. This is like insanely how this is flowing today.
I am good.
This is like,
so
this is
spiritual.
why we got you on, Mel. because the whole
So my spirit guide's flowing through me.
yeah, they're working very, very well today. Thanks to the African woman who's with us today for her insights and steering this. But
Don't give her too much credit. Come on.
you're doing all the hard
I
work,
did
right?
the makeup and the hair.
I still have an ego.
I still need praise, all right.
But that's the thing too, like when you are spiritual, like you can still get your hair done and do your makeup, you know, you don't have to be, you know, oh, well, I'm spiritual now, so you just take me as I am. Like you can still do those little things that bring you joy. You know, you can present yourself to the world how you want to show the world. You can still go to the pub with friends. You don't have to drink, but I sometimes just sit there and because there's people around me that like really enjoy drinking, and I just think, well, that brings you joy, you know, and that's where you are on your journey. And if that's what you want to do, then that's great, you know. Like I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to try and tell you what it does to your body. Like that's your journey to work that out. And maybe for this lifetime, that's not for you either. You know, just because we're on the spiritual journey doesn't mean everyone around us wants to come on it too. So I think you do get so excited by it. You need to find like-minded people, because if you start trying to preach to all these other people that aren't really ready for it, then you do disassociate yourself. So I think you need to have the awareness of time and place. But once you open up to it, they turn up. You know, like you showed up in my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like you showed up in my life. Hello. Like, hello. Like they turn up when you're ready. So just if you're thinking about stepping onto the spiritual journey and you think you're going to lose everyone and, you know, you're going to have to wear a crystal around your neck in a macrame and dye your hair purple and no longer wear deodorant and, you know, go to yoga every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. when the sun rises. Definitely don't have to do that. You still do you, but you just see the world differently, I think, and you see experiences differently and your connections with people change. You know, you might see someone in a different way, and then so there's someone, you know, like in my realm at the moment and, you know, could be seen as hard to get along with and a bit difficult, but I just kind of raise up and, you know, the more I get to know this person, I see there's a lot of hurt and a lot of trauma from like what's happened earlier in the life. So that then changes my perception of why she's showing up like that, and I approach her completely different.
Yeah, you get to see more of the picture because you have more of your senses. You know, like just from the physical or egoic point of view, we're limited to the 5 senses. But as soon as we start to include that spiritual aspect of ourselves, which is natural to all of us, we all have it no matter where we are on the journey. If our heart's beating, we've got it.
Yeah, I think you do go through a phase early on when you first awaken. Everything's bright and shiny and new and exciting and or terrifying, either way.
Both.
Yeah. I think you do go through a phase. I certainly did, where I was kind of like, oh my God, everyone's got to kind of get on board. Everyone should be in their space. Like this, I'm so amazing and incredible and so unique, and look what I can do now. Look at me, like a performing monkey. And then I think just kind of expecting, maybe it's just my stubborn Sagittarian way, kind of think everyone would just kind of jump on board with me because I was making it look so good. From my bed where I was spinning out.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. I told you what Mel's doing. It was great. I'll have what she's having. In my head, it made sense. And then there have certainly been people who have dropped away for different reasons over the last few years. And looking back now, I think instead of being angry or holding it against them or feeling put out about it, it's sort of like I can absolutely see why now. I can see that whether it was not to, you know, I don't say this as a egoic, I'm so amazing sort of thing, but I feel like I do have a tendency to mirror a lot of stuff. I know we all do it, but I seem to turn people away because unintentionally because of that. I think they just see stuff around me that they don't like to see about themselves, and So just that recognition of people will come and go in your life, and almost having an acceptance now of maybe that's how it's always meant to be. There's no such thing as you're my friend now. I kind of own some part of you in my life forevermore, or even family members. More of just that people will be in my life for various reasons, and perhaps sometimes my energy, their energy changes so we can relate to each other, we can be around each other, we can help each other. And I've seen within my family the healing effect, like the changes in their own personality and their own tolerances, just from me healing, you know, that thing they say, you know, when you heal yourself, you heal others, all that kind of jam. But I do think I'm just a lot less judgmental and intolerant of other people now. I used to think I was a pretty nice person. I used to get really upset. I used to get really put out, and, you know, the abandonment and rejection, all that stuff. And now I just think, oh, light and love.
Yeah.
On your way.
Yeah.
If we don't fit anymore, we don't fit anymore, which is a really lovely thing that's come out of it, I feel. And I like you said, I'm more open to people who coming into my life for the right reasons, or the right energy, or the right purpose at the right time. Now it just kind of happens very organically.
Yeah, like
now,
that.
Which is nice.
Reason, season, lifetime.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, doesn't it, right? And you know the universe is moving them on because you're both going on to the next chapter and being able to let that go. I love that. I love that you've brought all these things up that I want to say, but it's good to hear it from someone else.
Yeah, and I think like you said as well, that accepting that not everyone needs to be on the same timeline. Not everyone is going to get where they need to get to in this lifetime. We probably none of us do. And I've had friends who I've thought, you know, we're kind of exploring oracle cards or whatever together, and they seem very open to it. But then, you know, we'll go back to their, you know, their bill paying job, which is, and kind of shut everything down. And there's always that bit of, but no, you're supposed to be more. Like, there's so much more. Keep going. You're nearly there. And then accepting, okay, maybe not for you in this lifetime.
Yeah, or not right now.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
There's only some of us that can pull oracle cards and make dinner and then run kids out to AFL training. It's a skill that takes a while. When it comes in, it comes in.
So true.
But let's go back to the touching on the when you hear yourself, like other people around you will start to heal, particularly family, because I think that is definitely a thing. Yes. And you've mentioned it. Do you think so, Helen?
Well, once we include a more spiritual energy in our everyday life presence, it has to flow through us.
Oh, well, that just makes so much sense in like 6 words.
Yeah. That's why we love Helen.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah. So, and then it's exactly like you expressed. They're either going to be triggered by it or they're going to let it in and heal from it. Like it's going to go, there's only really 2 ways it can go.
Agree. And I've noticed it in my family, like without ratting everyone out.
Mum, Dad, are you listening right now?
Yeah. Turn the radio off right now. No, but I stepped into it and I kept it quiet for a little bit, but like I can't keep anything quiet. So it came out pretty fast, let's be honest. Don't ask me to be quiet about anything. So then I started talking about it and, you know, they got on board and they were understanding of it. And then my dad went on a little journey of seeing a number that resonated with him. And it started off from the first house he ever grew up in. And then we went to dinner, just he and I, and we ordered a meal and it was like 6:36 and 36 seconds. And then we sat at table 36 and he's sitting there going, what? Like, what? And then he's like, my car rego was like 336. And this happened and this is relevant. And it just, I could just see it like unfolding in his head. And then he went, and then he went back to like where he grew up as a child and went back up to Mackay and had a little road trip up there, just him on his journey. And now he visited us at Mind Body Spirit Festival.
And he bought crystals.
Crystals because I've done work on him and I gave him crystals and he's like, something's going on with these crystals, you know, I don't get shitty at everyone when they cut me off when I'm driving on the Sunshine Coast. You know, my temper doesn't seem to be what it used to be when I've got these crystals. And for someone, so he's like mid to late 60s, you know. I actually don't know how old my dad is right off the cuff, but he was born when I was...
He's dad age.
Yeah, like dad age, right?
What do I actually?
It's terrible.
Terrible daughter.
I know.
His 70th birthday. Mum rang me and gave me a heads up.
Right? Like, I'm good with the numbers, but sometimes I just don't get them. But yeah, so he's close to a semi-retired, almost retired. Let's just say that. So that's a generation that wouldn't have been open to this stuff at all.
It was much harder for that generation.
Yeah. And, you know, my mum, I think, is where like the witchy stuff comes from. Like, she, you know, she had a guide and she spoke about him, but I don't think she really realised what it was at the time. And then he's working with me, and then I described him exactly as she's had psychics describe him, and then she bought some cards, an oracle deck, and so she's a little bit like, oh, what's this? Or maybe I want to get on board. And my brother's on the healing journey in a big way. Like, he is just like throwing himself in like Bali retreats and breath work, and, you know, like he's like plugs in all the signs he sees and the animals. And my brother loves this podcast too. So, you know, like shout out to my number one fan.
You are sounding very excited.
I am, right? And so now I'm just working on my little sister. So she'll come eventually. But I didn't do anything except just express what made me happy, you know, and
Well said.
I lit up in a different way when I stepped into it. Like, I wasn't anxious anymore. I didn't worry about things the way I used to. I was able to see friendships and people coming and going from a higher perspective. And, you know, I give my time to things because it brings me joy, but I don't expect things back in return. Like, I do a lot of volunteer stuff for my kids and school. And, you know, you talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, don't do that. It's such a selfless job. No one ever says thanks. And I just think now, well, I do it because what brings me joy. You know, I like being around people. I don't expect it. So I think you just shift as a person, and then those that are ready to come with you will come with you.
Like a little float, like a domino.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really nice. I still remember the day I came out to my dad. Can we use that phrase, came out?
Yeah.
I think we can use
Yes,
that.
I think so.
I think
Yeah.
it fit. Well,
Yeah.
that's how
It
I felt
feels
at
like
the
it,
time.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yep.
I can remember. And it was quite a ways into it already. I was living in Melanie at the time, and holy doolies, like, goodness, if you need to recover from your awakening, go to Melanie.
Oh, yeah. Because I grew up at the bottom of Mullaney.
Oh, my
Have we
gosh.
worked this out before?
I think we may have
Yeah,
done.
may have, yeah. So we
Yeah.
have similar, like, geographical
There you
location,
go.
upbringing.
Somebody told me, I don't know how true this is, that Melanie is built on pink quartz, rose quartz. So that's why a lot of it, especially women, like single mums and that, will go to Melanie, and they'll only stay a year or two. Like, we're only there 20 months. And they heal and then they move on.
Wow.
Which makes a lot of sense to me after my time there. But anyway, I still remember my dad came to visit there outside of Toowoomba. I had this ride-on mower that was always breaking down, and Dad would come and fix it and get it going again for me. And they would stay the night, and he was out packing up the trailer and putting everything on the trailer, and I'm like, oh, I've got to say it to him this time. I can't wait until he comes back, and I don't want to do it over the phone. And it was such a big deal for me to tell him.
What did you tell him?
Well, I just said, hey, Dad, I don't even know how to say this, but I've got to tell you. And he's like, okay. Yeah, righto.
So he's expecting.
Yeah.
He,
Something.
can we even put words around what he's expecting? Like,
I
he's
don't
not
know, he
expecting
probably thought I
this.
was actually coming out or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Or I've got cancer. Or
yes,
Yeah.
because I not long ago ended my second marriage, so he probably did think like, oh, all right, this is where we're at now. Okay. But I think
hi,
he
Dad,
was,
I'm into threesomes. Can you imagine the relief? Let's hear what you said.
And I just said, so I can see spirits and stuff.
And he's like, oh, that's all.
And he's like, oh, well, whatever makes you happy, love. Okay. And he said, well, I don't really believe in any of that shit, but you know, whatever's good for you. And I was like, oh. And he packed up the trailer and he was like, all right, we'll see you next time. And I was like, okay, righto. Wow, I really built that up to this massive thing in my head, and my dad was like, oh, okay, well, that I can deal with.
Yeah, right. It's not.
if I can't see them, I'm safe.
But it was so funny that exact same time, and he was like, oh, I don't believe in that shit. They drove out of my driveway, right? And I was watching as they drove out, and one of the tires was looking a bit wobbly on this trailer. And I'm thinking, watching him out the driveway, okay, no, all good. And 5 minutes later, he's back in the driveway. And I was like, what's going on? And he said, I just happened, as he was driving like onto the road out of my driveway, so sort of turning, he looked back in his side mirror and saw that the tire didn't look right on the trailer and had turned around, come straight back, and it was basically ready to fall off. And I was like, oh my God. He's like, yeah, it must be your mum looking out for us. And I was like, so you do believe in this shit?
Oh, that's gorgeous.
But I thought that was so funny. And his dad, my granddad, comes through quite a bit. Well, not so much anymore. I used to at the time. And he would always say, tell your dad. He has these feelings because my granddad was quite a hard dad. I thought he was a great granddad. He had a really dry sense of humor. He was always quite a hard dad, and he and my dad didn't have a great relationship. So he would come through to me, usually when I'm mowing the lawn or something, with these feelings of like regret and but not so much regret that we would know it, more of like, I just wish I'd known better at the time. And he would say this to me, tell your dad, like, you know, I was the one who was too hard, and he's doing a really good job, but he's making changes. He's doing it differently than I was. I wish I'd been around to tell him that. And I can't tell him that, Granddad, because he doesn't believe in this shit.
But he does.
Yeah, but I've actually seen my dad soften so much in that way. And then also my older brother, he's got 2 girls, again, is even softer. I don't even know why we say that word in terms of men, but that it's some achievement for them to be soft or something. Like
patriarchy. Don't get me started.
But it's that traditional Aussie dad kind of thing. And again, that kind of seeing it through the generation, that we can just do this differently. I can do dad in a different way. And to see him with my children, and my dad and I have a very different relationship now. We don't sit around and talk about spiritual shit.
Yeah.
He did ask me not long ago, he's like, what is it that you do in your clinic? And I said, I've said way too much. I really should have kept it very short and sweet. And I help people figure out what's going on with their bodies. Went into this whole thing about like, I see inside people's bodies, and spirit helps me. And I had this woman who was having troubles with her uterus, and it turned out it was a child that she'd miscarried that was hanging around in and out of the body. And he's like, sorry, I asked. Fair. Okay. Not everyone needs to know the ins and outs of my work, but he's supportive.
Yes.
Which is lovely. And again, it's that acceptance from me that I don't need to have dad. I don't need to have anyone really in my family who I can sit around and talk about my spiritual work with. They love and support me, and they're like, whatever you're doing, great job. Like, we'll come check out your clinic one day.
That acceptance from your dad was beautiful. That I'm still crying from that story.
Oh, it was. I think I was just shell shocked at the time, because I think my dad had always been like this scary person to talk to, and and he was just that.
I have same sentiments too, actually. Like, my dad is a very large, gruff, terrifying, pity any boy who tried to come to my house in my youth, he would have been packing it, turning up. But I agree. It's like, I don't know whether it's age or whether it's like us changing, but there is definitely a shift that happens, and it's nice that it's happening. And it is I like how you said it's a softening, and why do we even have to say they're softer? They're just maybe falling into who they are in a way that we've not seen before, because we are falling into who we are. And so we're all just doing it, and it's just not this heightened thing that it used to be, because we're all just a bit more grounded and a bit more open and aware.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard plenty of stories with friends who can't have anything to do with their families anymore. So I do feel like it needs to be a two-way thing. Yeah. I think it absolutely it requires us to go in with that, I am who I am. And I'm still Mel that was kicking about barefoot in the bush. And maybe I'm more that Mel around my family than I am, around my work or in this setting. I like that I can still be interested in nursey stuff. I wonder now if the whole awakening is more of just becoming, like you said, just more of ourselves.
Mm.
And
It absolutely is.
if that's really all it is, it's not even to do with spiritual, physical, 3D, 5D, like none of that even really matters. If it's just as simple as I'm just becoming more of who I am when I was meant to become it. And no disrespect to who I was or who I am becoming, I just am. When I set up my clinic at the start of this year, it was intuitive medicine. Like that was it. And the angels came to me in meditation and said, you'll be healing with us. This is how you do it. And I was like, right, get a massage table so I can do angel healing. So I start off with that. Nobody's really taken me up on it. Like it just hasn't been. And I went through this whole thing of, all right, Spirit, you told me to do this. I've taken on this lease. I'll do the space. I'll do the clinic. I'm there. I don't even care if I don't make a bunch of money out of it, but I need to at least cover the lease. I don't want to be out of pocket. We're all in agreement. Great. Awesome. Jumped into it with 2 feet. Didn't happen. And having this hang about.
Yeah. Do you see why we get along? You get cranky at your guides like I get cranky at mine.
I was so mad and so you guys threw me for a loop here. Not okay. We had an arrangement. I need to have some control over this. That's why we negotiated and I had a deal. You guys aren't holding up your head in the butt. I'm here 5 days a week, showing up, doing the work, pushing my boundaries of what I'm comfortable with. Well and truly out of my comfort zone. Where's the air support? Come on, guys. And the more I tried, the more I screamed, the more it just never happened. Nothing developed. I didn't get the bookings. Everything felt like hard work, felt the opposite of what I was there for. And I was just thinking, I'm just going to shut the whole bloody thing down. You guys can get stuffed. I'm done.
I love it. Your guys are right and my guys going, God, these girls are so cranky at times, aren't they? They can't see. We're just trying to redirect them or show them a different way, or they needed to walk that path so they can work out what they want, not what they think we want them to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I decided, look, I need to be paying the lease. Okay. I'm happy to keep the clinic. I love my space. It's my sanctuary. I don't care if I I just love being there. But there's the whole thing of money here on earth. Maybe you've forgotten about that. So until you guys figure out how to get clients actually in my door that you've promised me, I'm going to go and do some other work so I know I have some money coming in. So I went back to do some support work with some old family friends of ours. And this, of course, then led to this whole thing. I actually quite like doing both. Mm-hmm. I like this. I love doing the support work and I feel and you know what? I sit in my car on the way there and I call my angels in and I can feel them come through my hands. So when I touch my client, I know that they're helping her, they're healing her. I was like, I will be healing with you. Oh, all right. Kudos on that one. Got me there.
I see now.
I'll admit perhaps I misinterpreted that one. All right, cool. Good-o. I'm learning.
Yeah, always learning, right? Forever a student of the universe.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We're not learning. We're not here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so then I thought, maybe I could do nursing and intuitive stuff. And I have a very good friend of mine who is a psychic medium, and she took a long service leave last year, and her guides had told her, you're going to do this full time. This is going to be a job. And she's like, righto, yep, cool. Quit my job. And they said, no, just take long service. Don't quit. You'll be back. She's like, no, this is what I'm doing now. Spirit told me. Anyway, nothing. Again, crickets, nothing. And she's, cranky and you know what? Get stuff, shut the whole thing down, not doing your work anymore at all. Went back to her work and was, I can actually do more good here at my work in the 3D world, whatever we call it now, and still be using my insights or my intuition or my gifts, whatever. And I was like, okay, cool for you. A few months later.
Yeah.
Here's Mel I reckon if I was just nursing or doing support work or even like advocacy work, working with NDIS participants, the angels still work through me and spirit still guides me and I still use my intuition. I feel you. Okay.
This doubles back though right to the beginning of our conversation, which was a little while ago now. So if anyone's still listening, kudos to you for hanging in there with us. But this whole spiritual awakening is meant to infiltrate right through society. We're not meant to be segregated off doing our own little thing somewhere in a dark cave or somewhere in our own little office. Yeah. It's meant to infiltrate. Like it's meant to match that planetary rising. It's meant to infiltrate through all aspects of our society. We're light workers. We bring the light through while we're walking through the shopping centre, while we're driving our cars down the highway, while we're conveyed through this podcast, whatever it is, whatever we normally do as we're laying tiles in a bathroom, like whatever we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really beautiful way to express that's the experience you've had in your own life, but it also nicely doubles back to the point we made earlier.
Yeah. So I was saying, I tell people now, I feel like I've come full circle, but a parallel circle. Because I said that
it's spiral, right?
Yes.
It's not flat.
That's right. Yeah, like the Fibonacci spiral. I know all about that because I'm so spiritual. It is. It's that spiral. And what do we always keep spiraling back to is self, center. What am I even here for? What am I doing? I am not this. I am not that. I am not doing this. I'm not here for this purpose. I didn't awaken to be one of the elite or special or something. What am I here for?
Yeah.
What does it look like for me? And you know, once you get sort of over the novelty, I think, of the whole awakening and, oh my gosh, everything's so amazing and bright and colourful now and I can see the energy flowing through the trees.
Yes. Yeah. You do. Yeah. Completely resonate with that.
I actually had that moment. It was very cool.
The tree aura.
I literally saw the veins inside the tree trunk.
Yeah, yeah. I can see tree auras. Like that were the first auras I could see.
Cool.
Yeah.
So cool. And then then you go through the whole thing where things are just coming at you all the time, uncontrollable, and you're just always the person, every conversation, who can't just have a regular conversation. You've always got to be like, oh, your aura's so pretty today. Have you tried yoga? I think your aura would really like some yoga today. You should eat more mushrooms. Your protein's a bit low. This is the person. Oh, how annoying.
Yeah, it's so true, right? I agree.
Yes, it's like the switch is flicked and you're just like, oh, everyone needs my insights. And people are like,
we don't.
You. Unsolicited advice, very much. No, thank you.
Yeah. But good intent, right?
Yes.
Like we can't, because we wake up and you want to tell everyone, you want to share it with everyone, and you're like, hey, do you know what's blah, 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 blah. I did your cards, and do you know blah, blah, blah. Like they're like, wait, I didn't ask you to do my cards. Like, you psycho. I'm like, oh, I should keep that to myself.
I had a friend who would you would just ask her for advice and like, so what I'm getting is
yes.
Every time, really appreciate the insights, and I think that's a very normal, and like you said, I think that's just part of the integration of you do kind of, and at some point you kind of mellow, and you're just like, oh, I'm just still Mel, like thank goodness for that, because I know Mel. I've had decades with Mel, and I know Mel. I know her history. I know what's good. I know what works, what doesn't work. I know what I'm interested in. I know what floats my boat. I know what inspires me. I know when I need rest. I do know when I need rest. And I think that's why wouldn't we start there? You know what I mean? Instead of having to relearn everything about ourselves, why wouldn't we just say, cool, this is just another layer of me.
This is an expansion of me.
Yeah. That just sounds so much easier.
It does, doesn't it?
And I wonder if there's a way for people to know that at the time. That's where I get.
That's what I'd like to create.
That's where I get stuck. Yeah. Like, how do you tell somebody who's going through this in the moment, who's like, well, I've done the doctors and, maybe it's not physical. maybe it's something more. How do they even know at the time? Before it gets awful.
Yeah. Well, I think this podcast will hopefully help those people.
Yeah.
Maybe, like these words, the conversations, the more of us that talk about it, hopefully the more ears that hear it, that share it.
Yeah. So that may even just opening up to the idea that maybe what's physically going on with me is not physical. Maybe I explore something beyond physical, what even that looks like for me right now.
Yeah.
It's expanding. It's happening. Like, look at the inner seagull. How do we say her name correctly?
Yeah, not sure.
Oh, yes, I know who you mean,
like
yes.
those books
Yeah.
and the Barometer for the Soul, that book. And
Yes.
You Can Heal Yourself by Louise Hay. And, her work stemmed out of the work from the 1800s of Mary Baker Eddy's. And so it is expanding. We are expanding it. You're right, this podcast is, the fact that you're doing your work is expanding, that there is another option. Well, thanks, Mel. We've done so many spirals in this episode, haven't we? Like doubled back on topics, expanded them even further, and I think it's been a really beautiful discussion. Thank you so much for joining us on the It's Okay to Be Spiritual podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
You've shared so many insightful things in such a casual, relaxed way. It's been magnificent. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Join us next time.
Bye for now.